Hello, Renee Hahn, your Naples Real Estate Expert, bringing you the monthly edition of Tide Talk, and as a part of Tide Talk, your Naples Real Estate Market Update. Now, as I always say in these videos, this data is a month in arrears. So we are in the month of July, but the data is for the month of June. We do this because NABOR releases the data a month later to make sure they've got everything closed. All the transactions have been taken care of from an administrative standpoint. So it's making sure that you have the latest data that we can bring you. So I'll title this one, Summer Buyers Are Enjoying More Options and a Bit More Leverage, because that's true. Despite the usual summer slowdown, which again, if you know anything about Naples real estate, you'll know we're very cyclical. Now, this wasn't true during the COVID years where we behaved more steady year round, but in our normal market, we slow way down in the summer. But despite that usual summer slowdown, this year's Naples real estate market is delivering more opportunities for buyers than we've seen in over a decade. According to the 2025 market report that Naples Area Board of Realtors releases with all the data, inventory climbed 18.2% from a year ago. So buyers had 5,885 options to choose from across Collier County, and that doesn't even include Marco Island. That's a significant increase when you consider that June of 2024, there were 4,978 homes for sale on the market. And while more choices are always welcome news for buyers, it does provide a consequence, if you will, on purchase price, which has an impact on sellers because it's been slightly softening the home prices. But that softening in home prices has slightly re-energized buyer activity. So sometimes it's necessary. Pending and closed sales both rose 1.5% last month. And again, that's proof that with a little breathing room on the price, it goes a long way to pulling buyers into the market. I'm going to cover a couple highlights from this June 2025 market report. As I said, inventory up 18.2% year over year, pending sales up that 1.5%, as well as closed sales. New listings. Now, this is interesting. So new listings coming on the market were 877 for the month, but closed sales were 744. So if you've got 744 homes that closed, 877 that were new, what does that mean? Your inventory is continuing to outpace the sales activity. Median close price was down 3.2%, so it came in at $576,000 for the month of June. Average sales price though, so median we use because it gets rid of the, if you don't know much about median versus average, let me just share, most of you will know, but median gets rid of the outliers, if you will, the extremes, and gives you a much more, a better indicator of price activity. But it's worth noting that average sales price actually went up 12.4%. So it was at $1,200,472. Now, this is attributed to activity at what I would call the ultra luxury price point. So if we had more things selling at higher price points, and I'm talking ultra luxury, not $1 million homes, then that's going to pull the average up again. The median will discount some of that and give you a truer reflection of what was going on. But if you look at closed sales over 5 million, that was up 13.6 year over year. We had some significant sales. And this is not the first month that has happened. The prior month was as well. Days on market was up 27%. So what does this mean for you? For buyers, look, you've got some leverage right now. More than we've seen in quite a long time. Inventory's healthy and prices have softened just enough to reopen the doors for buyers who had previously stepped back for a variety of reasons. Summer is traditionally a time for, what people think are bargain hunters, if you will. And this year, the trend is holding strong, especially for those willing to take on homes that may need a little work. For sellers, look, I would say that the market is somewhat stable, but strategic, we'll say. It was something that we were all waiting for. Everybody knew that that huge rise was not sustainable and it was not normal. So we knew they had to come back. But homes that are priced right now, can sell. And if they show really well, there are some that are selling. It is just key to price it right and get it looking good. But the days of list it and wait for a bidding war, and that's, in the rearview mirror, that's not happening, at least for now. The median sales price may be down slightly, but Naples sellers still have some significant equity. If you look at what you're selling homes for versus what you bought them for, unless you bought around the 2021 and then you're probably losing money, you're generally in a pretty strong position. So it's hard to let go of the pricing that you've seen over past years, but you've got to remember what you purchased at, and you've got to right size with the market. So the listings, though, that linger on the market too long or are priced out of sync with the condition they're in, are being met with buyer hesitation. I see it all the time, and it's a little bit of an arm wrestling match with some sellers because they don't want to face into it. If you're getting consistent feedback that you are overpriced, you're probably overpriced. If you're getting a lot of showings and not getting offers, there's this sentiment that people think, well, make an offer. We're not going to shift our price, just make an offer. But here's the reality, folks. If you're priced here and everybody else is priced here, the buyers know that you can negotiate off of either. Why would you start off of a higher price here to negotiate than down here to negotiate? Assume you can get, a decent price percentage off. People don't necessarily want to start negotiating off the higher one. There are some people that will, but I would tell you the majority of the people in this market don't necessarily do that. I pulled some data yesterday in I lined up for the last 120 days, all of the closed sales, and I looked at what were they originally listed for and what did they sell for. And we had one that sold for 47% of ask price. It closed in the last 120 days. The median average was 90%. So the other thing worth noting is I took this graph and I created a trend line through it. So to show, because it was all over, right? One sold for 80%, one sold for 95%, one sold for 47%. I looked at the median, so it got rid of the extremes, right? And the trend line is down. So what does that mean? If you go back in chronological time, they used to sell for closer to what the list price was. Now they're selling for less compared to the list price. What does that mean? It means if a buyer is bold enough to make an offer on your home, they are expecting negotiation room. And with the median coming in at 90%, it was something like 75% of the homes that sold for less than 95% versus the ask price. That's telling. So you've got to be ready to negotiate. So the worst thing that can happen is you're overpriced and you're not willing to negotiate and consider offers that are closer to that 90%. And I'm even seeing several of them sell below 90%. My homes haven't, but it can happen. So again, you've got to understand that buyers are savvy. They're looking for pricing that aligns with the market condition and the home's condition. And so people aren't just going to make an offer. They want to know that you're going to be a reasonable seller to deal with. So my take, we're not in crisis. We're in what I would call correction. The Naples market is normalizing, and that's actually healthy. So this isn't a fire sale. It's not a frenzy. It's a market where preparation, pricing, and presentation matter. A property that checks the right boxes still moves, and often for a decent price. So if you're a buyer, this is a great window to make a move while there's selection and less pressure. If you're a seller, it's time to be thoughtful, strategic, and data-driven. And as always, I'm here to help you interpret the trends, understand your options, and make your move that's right for you. One of the things I pride myself on because of my corporate background, my MBA, and all the other training I've had, I am hugely analytical. I watch the market every day, and you can't ignore the data. So if you want somebody that can actually help you make data-driven decisions instead of emotional reactions or caving to, holding back because they don't want to hurt your feelings, I'm going to be the one to give you the data and be tactful about it. So as always, I'm here to help you. I'm going to help you interpret the trends, understand your options, and again, make sure the move's right for you. So if you want a hyper-local breakdown for your zip code or your neighborhood, I've got that too, including recent stats on a list of closed price trends, market shifts, all of that, just reach out. Again, Renee Hahn, your Naples Real Estate Expert. You can reach me at 239-287-2576 or find me at yournaplesexpert.com. Thanks and have a fabulous day.